Guruve Gaura Chanjaya Radhikaya Tadali Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatruviyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My Dandavat Pranam devotees. So I just wanted to do a brief video because I both had a question and then I had a discussion with a very dear God brother this morning also who made an inquiry. Dandavat Ram Gopal ji, I have to call you. So, a discussion with God brother this morning also as well regarding a situation if someone has stopped for some time chanting their Diksha mantras, what should be done? It wasn't the God brother. He's trying to give aid to someone who may have either stopped chanting the mantras or needed illumination regarding the mantra. I'm not sure of the circumstance. I didn't inquire beyond his just asking a question about it. So I wanted to talk about that. I do want to prep the conversation here. We're expecting a delivery, so there may be a little bit of an interruption that comes, but I'll try to keep going through that. So I've spoken many times about the importance of Diksha mantras, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami has addressed this in Manasiksha. So mantri Shri Namne Vraja Nava Dvanva Yuvasarine Sada Dvanva Hitva Guru Ratim Apurvam Atitaram. So the word Atitaram means excessive. And Sada Dvanva Hitva, give up all kinds of pride. Means any idea that there's something more important than the mercy that comes in the form of Harinam and Diksha from Sri Guru. One should give up any idea that something is more important than that, and one should take strict adherence to giving attention to both Sri Mantra, means the mantra given by Guru, and of course Sri Nam. So this is the very first verse of Manasiksha, and Raghunath Das Goswami is giving the mentality that's needed by speaking figuratively to his own mind, because Bhagavad Gita says our mind is our greatest friend and our greatest enemy, greatest friend and greatest enemy. So preaching to his own mind, he's telling that one should have such high regard. Ratim apuravam. Apuravam means not previously. In other words, nothing that you've experienced in this world should garner the kind of affection and deep love you have for Sri Guru, and hence, because the mantra and nam, right, are non-different, especially the mantra is non-different from Guru. Right, it's mentioned that the mantra is Sakshat Hari and Sakshat Guru. You understand? So, if somehow or another, for whatever reason, a person has, due to a crisis of faith or any other reason, they have become a little bit lax in being either attentive to or not at all chanting the Diksha mantras, even if you've continued to chant Harinam, you should approach your Guru ideally. There's pastime Sriman Mahaprabhu where there was a question of having not chanted the mantra for some time. Oh no, what was I think the pastime was the person wanted to hear the mantra again, wanted to hear from Mahaprabhu the mantra again. And Mahaprabhu told you should hear from your Guru, actually. So you should hear from your Guru. So of course, if the circumstance is that Sri Guru has entered Samadhi, and therefore I don't have opportunity to externally hear the mantra again from Sri Guru, then anyone who has the capacity of Shiksha Guru for you, in whom you've invested that type of faith, and it's described that Shiksha Guru and Diksha Guru are one with two different functions. So that means it should be someone who you feel equated with your Diksha Guru, but is having the special function of being like Shiksha. You understand? Or giving illumination and instruction in the nature of what was given by Diksha Guru. So, and then in requesting to hear the mantra again, there are some specificities, obviously, in the mantra. And this is, maybe a whole nother discussion, which I obviously cannot have in full on a public platform. But for many devotees who have received Diksha or second initiation is, popular parlance, in some sanghas and so forth and so on. So if you have received the Diksha mantras, but you've not received the illumination, and illumination here means both the rahasya and the dhyan. It means the inner meanings of the mantras and the meditations that go with them. That also needs to be done. So, the idea, of course, in our earlier days, I came to the path of bhakti in 1972 in Brooklyn, in New York. And obviously, I didn't join the ashram in LA in 75 when I was in college. But then when I went back to school, I did not take initiation. So I took initiation later on. And the idea is that when you receive initiation, in many cases, there's like an overwhelming sense of newness, activity, things going on. So you don't always digest the import of what's happening. You don't necessarily even make inquiry into what the mantras mean, what to speak of the rahasya or mystery of the mantra or the dhyan of the mantra, right? And in some cases that's not known to the disciple, so he doesn't have a sensibility to make inquiry like that. So what happens is that we go on chanting the mantra, and sometimes it's being done what is called anushtanically or ritualistically, and therefore the depth of the mantra does not really manifest itself in the way it should. You understand? So the same could be said for Harinam. I gave a whole explanation once that Harinam goes from everything from chanting the 32 syllables of the name all the way to understanding what is Mahaprabhu. So I can't repeat that here because I'm trying to keep this short. But maturation within the practice by consistency and certainly by anugatya means the following of a sadhu. Because if you don't have high class of association following a sadhu, then it is very difficult to progress in bhakti. Because the tendency will be to lean back into having acquired what is practically considered information at that point, operating on the basis of the information, and kind of settling into a practice within the mode of goodness. So the real depth of the internal spiritual experience doesn't really manifest itself clearly, and that becomes even more of a reason to lean back into just practicing in the mode of goodness. And because the mode of goodness has two qualities, it gives a false sense of knowledge and a false sense of happiness. You understand? It conditions one to that. It's explained in Bhagavad Gita. So that happens a lot. But if you are practicing with depth, and a lot of times this is due to the previous bhakti samskars a person may have. But if a lot of bhakti samskars are not there, bhakti samskars are both praktanak, means previous, and adunik means current. So in the adunik samskar, you want to try to create as much potency as possible. And if you're in good sadhu sangha and you're doing anugatya genuinely in sadhu sangha, then all of these sort of things in the harikatha of a sadhu will be brought about. So you'll be able to understand at the time of diksha the import and the importance of inquiring about the nature of the mantra. Sri Guru in many cases may already answer your questions. I know when I took Diksha, it was like a 2.5 hour process, pretty much, a 3 hour process. And that's because my Guru Pada Padma illuminated both Harinam and the mantras. And I found that this was so important in the future of my practice, because I didn't leave with simply a ritual to add to the chanting of Harinam in a fixed number, but I left with a depth of meditation into the actual spiritual nature, identity of my Guru, myself, the relation to Radha and Krishna, and that's what the Diksha mantras are meant for. That doesn't happen all at one time necessarily. I cannot say If anybody has very mature samskars, it may be immediate. But generally over a course of time, having digested that and practicing it, and practicing the process sincerely, then the internal realizations begin to manifest. So another question might come, will those internal realizations be there as long as there's some struggle with Vishai, means with sense gratification? And the answer is yes, because bhakti is not dependent on your struggle with Vishai. In fact, bhakti will come, it's explained in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, bhakti param pratilabhya kamam rid rogam. So even when rig rog, which means the disease of the heart in its attachment to the subtle and gross forms of enjoyment, bhakti will still make its appearance, because bhakti is swatantrata, means independent. Bhaktya sandhyatya bhaktya. Bhakti comes from bhakti. It doesn't come from the sort of entitlement of practice. That's explained. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanari Suruchite Kare Yudoy. That Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem means Krishna Prem is Nitya Siddha. It's already a perfected swatantrata, or swatantrik means independent reality. It's not dependent on your practice. The practice purifies the antakara, means the subtle body, and invokes the kripa of Guru, Parampara, Mahaprabhu, and Radha Krishna. So actually, the practice is an invocation for kripa, for mercy. You understand? So the more sincere the practice, obviously, the more sincere the invocation or plea for mercy. You understand? But your practice is not an entitlement to bhakti. I will do this, I will chant so many rounds a day, I will do this rat, I will do like this, and therefore I'll be entitled to bhakti. Right? Bhakti is not like that. Right? So we want to practice deeply and sincerely to invoke kripa. So the combination, it's explained, of kripa and endeavor avails the fertilization of the consciousness to receive bhakti. Right? So Shravanari Surachitte Kore Yudoy. By hearing and chanting, Surachitta means your consciousness becomes purified. But even a purified antakara or consciousness doesn't reveal bhakti. This is an important point. The purification of your consciousness reveals that you're not this body, you're not a material byproduct. It reveals the nature of the Atma. And the Atma, by its nature, Jiva Goswami Pad and Paramatma Sandarbha has described 21 qualities of the Atma. Like Chidananda Atmaka. Chidananda Atmaka, he says, means Dukkha Pratiyogita. It has no misery. Therefore, pardon the noise, it's coming. Same time, there's some maintenance going on outside, so pardon the noise. But Jiva Goswami here is saying that in the nature of the Atma, there is no misery. So simply purifying the antakara or the subtle body or the chitta does not necessarily reveal the nature of bhakti, which is composed of Swarup Shakti. That comes from receiving the kripa or the mercy of Srimati Radharani in Parampara. You understand? So sometimes devotees think like that. They think that there's a sort of entitlement based on my practice, or my tenure in bhakti, or my keeping faith throughout my life. If I just keep faith, even if I don't endeavor seriously, still I'll be entitled to get bhakti. So it doesn't quite work like that. So actually what happens is that by the mercy of Srimati Radharani coming in Guru Parampara to our own Gurudev, that Kripa Shakti enters. That's what causes the infusion of bhakti in the jiva. You understand? And the jiva always has that potential, because the jiva is the das of Krishna. So Jivasu Poya Krishna Nitya Das. It is the constitutional identity of a jiva that they're das of Krishna. And in that dasatva is Sarup Yogita, means the potentiality of receiving all kinds of bliss, including the bliss of bhakti. But that bliss of bhakti is an independent energy of the Lord, which is awarded to the jiva. So this is a very, very important point, right? And this is what causes humility. This is why Mahaprabhu told, Trinadapi Sunit Chena Taroropi Evase Shruna. To chant Harinam sincerely, it requires this kind of humility. that I'm not entitled. You understand? So I want to get back on subject, which is the Diksha mantras. So if somehow or another you need to hear the mantras again, then if you were not clear on the rahasya of the mantra and the dhyan of the mantra, you can inquire from that person whom you've accepted deeply as Shiksha Guru. Because actually Guru dhyan especially should be given by your Gurudev. That person whom you primarily have relationship with as Guru, the dhyan of the Guru mantra and Guru Gayatri should be given by them because it specifically relates to them. Right? We could say it's a generic thing that, well, I'm just giving the Guru mantra relates to the idea principle of Guru. But actually, that Guru dhyan is an infusion of a particular mood held by the Guru. That's what is being given. Jiva Goswami explained it. Divya Jnanam Yantu Shimanti Mantre Bhagavat Srup Jnanam Tena Bhagavat Visesh Sambandham Jnanangscha. So the word Visesh Sambandha Jnan means that Sri Guru at the time of Diksha, and I've explained this on many previous posts, so I won't keep elaborating here, but Sri Guru gives both the particular form of Bhagavan, that is the desired objective of the aspirant, and gives the nature of the speciality of what kind of relationship you have with that form of Bhagavan. You understand? So that's what the mantras are. They manifest first as a seed. Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami, Mari Kanase Bijaropan Shravanam Kirtale Chale Kariye Shekon. So you should take the seed, which is given by Sri Guru. You should plant it, water it by hearing and chanting. Then Mahaprabhu describes the unfoldment in gradual stages, all the way up to the lotus feet of one's Ishtadev, or one's worshipable objective. He also describes how to protect it from all kinds of upasakas, means all kinds of artificial material desires that will rise up also during the practice. Also, he especially said to protect it from Vaishnav aparad, which he compared to a mad elephant. So you could read Sanatan Siksha, all these things are there. But the point being here, the Diksha mantras are extremely important, and the particular Guru mantra and Guru Gayatri contains the dhyan, the meditation on the Gaur Roop of my Guru and the Braj Roop of my Shri Guru. You understand? That will come in maturation, but many times disciple will also hear from Guru the indications of those things at the time of taking Diksha. I'm not talking of Siddha Pranali here. So I'm not talking about Ekdas Bhav and things like that. That's a whole nother discussion, a whole nother subject matter. In general, the giving of Diksha has those elements. Because if you receive the Guru Mantra and the Guru Gayatri, but you have no understanding of the utilization of the mantra, right? It is called Avidvat Virudhi, right? There's Vidvadruti Diksha and Avidvat Virudhi. You understand? So Avidvat Virudhi means there's no clear understanding of the mantra. And there's no clear understanding also of the process of approaching the mantra. What is mantra, artha, chintan, nyas, etc., etc. So the elements of chanting, the approach to the process is missing, and certainly the rahasya and the dhyan of the mantras are missing. So Vidvadruti Diksha is the opposite. Vidvadruti Diksha means that Diksha which those things are understood. You understand? Therefore the efficacy of the mantra can have its effect. You understand? If not, the mantra is producing further bhakti sanskars that in a future life may mature, and in that lifetime when you hear Diksha again, then there'll be more resonance with it. So now back to another point, that if you have not been chanting your Diksha mantras for whatever reason, and you elect to hear them again, what I've spoken becomes an important element in that. Now, if you're hearing the mantras from a godbrother or god sister, or which really necessarily should not be the case if you're trying to reestablish the potency in the mantra, but if you've just lost the meaning or lost your paper and you don't remember the mantras or something, then you should still hear from someone you regard in the category of Siksha Guru. And in hearing from that person, right, whether or not, depending on the nature of the depth of your relationship in Siksha, is whether or not you should hear from them Guru Dhyan. You understand? Because if you don't have that kind, if your faith is not fully reposed in that person in the capacity of Shiksha Guru, then the portal, sort of the transcendental portal of transmitting the feature of Guru Dhyan, means meditating on the golden broad roop of Guru, that can't fully be expressed. You understand? Because that relationship is not like that. You understand? We have the example, not necessarily exactly, in Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. His Diksha Guru was obviously Bipin Bihari Goswami, but his illumination in Bhajan came from Sri Jagannath Das Babaji. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has made all of that clear himself. You understand? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had some opinion regarding Bipin Bihari Goswami based on certain things, but we should not think, according to the writings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had any dismissive mood towards Sri Bipin Bihari Goswami. He glorifies Bipin Bihari Goswami in various places. The other things, we should try to understand them in the context that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is speaking them. So don't, like I remember reading in some early years, many disparaging things about Srila Bipin Bihari Goswami, right? So we want to be careful, because when I'm not at least of an adhikar to digest that kind of situation. So I take what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said according to the context he spoke it in, and I honor what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur spoke regarding his Diksha Guru, but he also himself acknowledges his illumination came in the association of Sri Jagannath Das Babaji. So he put his full faith in Jagannath Das Babaji. We can say like that in terms of this relationship. So it was not simply a casual Shiksha relationship. You understand? So, and this is also one thing, that if anybody is performing the function of giving Harinam or giving Diksha, then a question may arise: if I've not had realization myself necessarily of the nature of my Swarup, etc., what will I transmit to a disciple? Well, it's for this reason that it's optimal that a disciple, there's three categories of those who are qualified to operate in the arena of doing the seva of giving Harinam and Diksha. I mentioned it the other day: those who are eternal associates of Bhagavan, who descend to this world; those who are siddha through the process of sadhana; and those who Rupa Goswami described to a practicing sadhana, who are sastrayukti sunipuna dvirashara yandra uttamarikari se tare sangsar. They have uttamarikar in eligibility of practice of sadhana. Their faith is fixed, it won't deviate, and they are thoroughly sastravit, and they understand the yukti means the logic and application of sastra. So it says, Taraye Sangsar, they can help others to traverse the path of samsara. So they're eligible persons to give Harinam and the illumination in Diksha. You understand? And because high class Guru sometimes is not always available, if someone will take under the understanding of what I've just spoken, they should understand that things will be operating in Guru Parampara, and that person who's doing that seva should have no Guru Abhiman, because no one in Guru Parampara has any Guru Abhiman. Shri Nityananda Prabhu was a Kanda Guru Tattva. Akroda Paramananda Nityananda Rai Abhiman Sunya Nitai Nagare Vedai. Shri Nityananda Kanda Guru Tattva has no Abhiman. So akrod means he never becomes angry, because the birth of anger is because we have an abhiman, and that abhiman gives birth to an entitlement. Something should happen that I want to happen. If it doesn't happen, then we become angry. You understand? So it says here, Nityananda Prabhu is abhiman sunya. So in our Guru Tattva, the teaching is that there is no Guru Abhiman. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also said, Tayi Sisha Tava Takya Savara Guru Abhimana Tyaji. May I always consider myself to be the Sishya of my Guru, and may Guru Abhiman go very far away. You understand? Because if you have Guru Abhiman, it will naturally also give rise to Labdha Puja Pratishta, desire for name, fame, etc. And in having that, it will obfuscate the flow of pure bhakti. And if that flow of pure bhakti is obfuscated, then the taste in pure bhakti is also corrupted, and therefore one will naturally try to taste labdha, puja, and pratishta, and they will miss getting the taste of pure bhakti. You understand? So, again, my original point, back to the Diksha mantras, is if you're taking and you have a relationship with this person, they are like my Diksha Guru. You understand? Because then you have to see, this person is my Diksha Guru in the form of giving Siksha. If you don't see like that, and you don't put your faith in the person like that, then for that person to give you Guru Dhyan may not be appropriate. You understand? Because that person is revealing their inner heart. And the other point I was making is that if the person doing that has not realized something of their own sarup, etc., they should operate by the line of conception. So Mahaprabhu is given a line of conception. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur part is mentioned. Arajo Bhagavan Vijayasya Tanayastha Dhamma Brindavana Ramaskas Chirupasna Vrajvadu Vagena Yakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartomahan. So in this verse of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he mentions the last line, that he accepts the opinion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and doesn't give regard to any other opinion. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur part is very strong. You understand? But here one indication is that the conception that Mahaprabhu came to give, Anarpita Chirim Chirak Kanunavatiya Nakalo Samutpaitam Unata Ujwalarasa Swabhakti Sriyam. Though Mahaprabhu manifested Chari Bhakti Ras, all the four main rasas of Braj, he gave emphasis to the speciality of serving Shrimati Radhika. It's called Radha Dasyam, Palyadasi Bhav or Manjari Bhav. He gave emphasis to that. It does not axiomatically mean that every single person who approaches Bhakti is in Manjari Bhav. But it is prominent in the line. And so it is the conception prominently of the line coming from Mahaprabhu. So if a person has not any realization of their inner mood, they should operate by giving the conception of the line. In doing that, then that person in their maturation will naturally begin to resonate with the particular seva abhista or desired service to Radha Krishna that is organically grown from their practice in maturation and kripa, as I mentioned before. At that time, Bhakti Samskars will operate to bring them directly in contact with Sri Guru in such a way that now the particular mood which has had some crystallization in their consciousness can be nourished by Swajatya Snigdha Sadhusanga. Means Sadhusanga, which is in the same mood one aspires for, and of course with great love and affection from that person. You understand? That they're associating with. You understand? Because Rupa Goswami is told that actually our association should be Swajatya, Snigdha, and Mahatra, means more superior than we are, to help us to grow. You understand? So this is one of the 64 angas of bhakti. You understand? So in that regard, one should hear Guru Dhyan only when they repose faith in that person they're hearing from in a very deep way. And obviously we do that with Diksha Guru. But if we've not heard the mantra, or we've forgotten the mantra, or we haven't chanted the mantra, or for whatever reason we need to be re-inspired and illuminated in the mantra, it should be done from someone in whom we have equal faith like we would in Diksha Guru as Siksha Guru. You understand? Because that's following the guidance of the Praktanak and Adunik Samskars in Bhakti. Means the previous and current impressions in Bhakti. Right? Because just as karma is very exacting, we shouldn't think that the samskars in Bhakti are wanton, or they're just haphazard or random. Right? Whom you meet that becomes Sadguru, that's not accident. That I reach my maturity in relation to that Guru or not is also not accident, because it means Chakudan Diloye Janami Janami Prabhu said, Guru again will come, and my Adhika will grow again in association with my Guru Dev. You understand? So like this, life after life, this connection is there. You understand? It's unfathomable how many ways this may happen, but This is the statement of Sri Narottam Das Thakur. You understand? So, we have to have that level of saranagati and faith in that person in order to solidify that the bhakti samskars, not karmic impressions, but bhakti samskars have put me in a position now where that portal of the transmission of the Guru Dhyan can be given. And from that Guru Dhyan, then because we're in Anugatya, so even if you get the Mahaprabhu's Dhyan in the Gaura Mantra and Gaura Gayatri, and then you get also the Dhyan of Shri Radha Krishna Yugu, right? In the Gopal Mantra and then in Kam Gayatri. Still, you can't approach any of that without Guru. So you need Guru Dhyan. This is the point. So, I think maybe hopefully it was somewhat clear. Obviously, I have to do some dancing because we cannot speak about the Diksha mantras in a public forum, right? But very important, right? So you should understand the mantras have their system, like the mantras, the first mantra overall is giving the overarching aspiration of the disciple. And I will say it's not worship of the sun for those, because in some sanghas it's only given to men, Brahma Gayatri, some sanghas only starting from Guru Mantra then going to Kam Gayatri is given. So depending on the situation. But even in the first mantra chanted by men, it's not worship of the sun. So go that far and then we can progress from there. You understand? So, but anyway, obviously that's the overarching aspiration of an aspirant. Then Guru Mantra, Guru Dhyan. Then Gaura Mantra, Gaura Dhyan. Then Gopal Mantra, right, which is related to the aspiration of the person practicing. And then Kam Gayatri, which is the Swarup of the Seva Abhista of those practicing, especially in Paliyadasi Bhav or Madhurya Rasa, but especially in Paliyadasi Bhav. Right? And that's written in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Ramananda Samvad, so you can go and read it. Right? So it's giving what is the meaning. So I can quote in Tattva what is there. Vrindavane Apakrita Navina Madan Kam Bij Kam Gayatri Yan Rupasan. The upasana of the Kam Bij and Kam Gayatri is meant particularly for the worship of Vrindavane Apakrita Navina Madan, the transcendental form of Cupid. It means Krishna, especially as he's seen in Madhurya Rasa. Understand? Alright, so I think I'm going to leave this here. I think it was a worthwhile discussion. My good wife also mentioned she thought it was important. And I've also encouraged that those who have some maturation or depth, they should try to explain the tattva of the mantras, because also that's something that's vastly misunderstood in many cases, and the general context of practice has become a situation of ritualistically following the idea I need to chant a certain amount of rounds and I need to chant the mantras given at the time of initiation. And many devotees feel that the real meaning and purport to getting the mantras was to be able to do seva on the altar. But they have not been able to link what the nature of that seva is with the mantra. You understand? It's like they consider it a entitlement. I remember I was preaching in Africa, I was preaching in Ghana, and I remember when the devotees there, a whole group of devotees took Diksha at the same time. So I went traveling to another part of Ghana along with another Pujapat Shanta Maharaj, who at that time he's like the pioneer of Ghana. He was the first devotee really there, and he kind of pioneered that, and I came and joined him there. But we traveled together for preaching, and we came back to the ashram, and we went upstairs, and the brahmachari ashram was divided into two divisions. One thing said Brahmins, and then it was like the other room was for everybody else. So of course I immediately snatched the sign off the door, and I had to have the sort of come to Jesus moment with the devotees, like, listen, this is not some material status you've obtained, right? You know, and then I spoke to the best of my ability at that time, what is the meaning of the mantra, in terms of not the rahasya of the mantra, but the general meaning, and it's for your personal spiritual progress. It's not a label or another upadi that you've acquired in this life. I am a Brahmin, right? Right? Because I used to see even those devotees in the very beginning, they would be doting over their threads and looking at it several times a day and everything. So there was a lot of general misunderstanding around what it meant to take Diksha. And for many devotees, they simply thought it was a step up the ladder in your social position within bhakti. Right? You're the new bhakta, then gradually you take Harinam, then gradually you take second initiation, you're allowed to go on the altar, allowed to cook, then you may become the temple commander, then vice president, president, then if you get promoted higher, etc. So all of these ideas are not obviously what is intended in the Diksha mantras. They are directly meant for producing the Visesh Sambandhit Gyan of the aspirant. Right? That means this particular worship of a particular form of Krishna by which we can become ekantically or one-pointedly devoted, and also the nature of our own aspiration in relation to that particular form of Krishna, right? Right? Because all doesn't matter if you end up being a Ram Bhakta, right? So, point being that, in the course of your practice, that will be real. It's very unusual in the course of Mahaprabhu's Leela. There are some exceptional cases, Anupam, Murari Gupta, but there are also Nityasiddha. Murari Gupta's Hanuman in Ram Leela, who's coming to Gaur Leela to taste the incredible sweetness that was produced by Gaur Leela. You understand? Premayava Goparamanam Kama Mityagamat Pratam Urva Adayo Apietan Vajanti Bhagavat Priya. Right? It's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, also Rupa Goswami Part quotes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Mahaprabhu's Leela is Ododja Leela. So it means all the devotees from previous incarnations, they're brought into Gaur Leela in order to take the intensity of what is Braj praying. So in the kirtan, in the courtyard of Srivas, what is the intensity of praying tasted in the Ras Leela of Sri Krishna is tasted in the Ododja Leela in that kirtan. Understand? So Mahaprabhu's Leela is very, very wonderful thing. No devotee changes their Swarup in Gaur Leela. They have their own Swarup in Gaur Leela. And they taste the intensity of Braj Prem, especially Madhurya Rasa, because Mahaprabhu himself has come to taste the mood of Radhika in this Leela. You understand? So devotees also coming and they're getting the Mahaprabhu told, Prem Rasniyas Karite Asharan, Rag Marg Bhakti Lok Karite Prachan. To the Bhakta Lok means especially to all the dear devotees from previous incarnations, he preached to them in this Ododja Leela Mahaprabhu, showed the path of Rag Marg. Path of Rag Marg means the path of following those who are Ragatnik. Ragatnik means the eternal associates of Vrindavan. They have Rag naturally in their Atma for Krishna. And those who want to follow those moods to serve Krishna called Raganuga. You understand? And among those who particularly want to follow the mood of how Rupa, Manjari, Rati Manjari, etc. serving Radhika, they are called Rupanuga. You understand? So my Gurudev made this special observation, right? In a generic sense, anyone following Rupa Goswami can be called Rupanuga in a generic context, but he made a speciality of pointing out that those whose aspiration is to serve like Rupa Goswami serves in his internal form, they are truly to the highest degree, by definition, Rupanuga. You understand? All right, so I think I will end here. I have some other services to perform, and also I'm praying always as usual for devotees to give me their mercy and blessings to go on serving Hari Guru and Vaishnavas. And also I want to report happily, some of the devotees have written that sometimes the sound on this iPad is not very good. So one loving devotee, I don't think he minds if I mention his name, Gaurasundar Prabhu in Hawaii, great Kirtaniya and very nice and sweet devotee, he offered even to buy a microphone for me to have, but my good wife, she saw the same need, so she ordered one. So that's coming. So even if this did not turn out optimal, I guess in the future the recording quality should be better. I've always thought in a very simple way about doing these sevas, and I like preaching in person so much, doing Harikatha with devotees in person, that I didn't give so much credibility to always doing these online things. And I guess as for a lot of those who serve Harikatha during the pandemic, it became almost a standard of doing so much Harikatha Seva online. So anyways, I'm trying to increase the quality of doing that Seva. So I want to thank Sriman Gorsunda Prabhu for just making it very plain that Mukunda Prabhu, we have to do this. So, and in that regard, I'm also trying, because I plan to come to Hawaii in 2020, pandemic happened. So I won't make it this year, but we have put it in the plan for next year, if Guru and Gauranga are willing, that we'll reach Hawaii. We will reach the West Coast this year. So I will go to California, and I know the argument will be, you're so close, jump on a plane, but we also have services back here again, and we're traveling not till after Janmashtami. Plus, we have our Bhakti Intensive, which we do every year, and this year it's in Virginia. We usually do it in South Florida, but it's in Virginia this year in, I think it's called Massagill or something. It's Massanutten is the resort. And so we're doing it there, especially that was for devotees in the north, that they would not have to take flights and rent cars like they always had to do to come to South Florida. So we're in the minority here, devotees from Florida, so we're going to drive up to Virginia, in other words. And so anyway, but the point being that with the Bhakti Intensive, then to come back and do the cross-country travel, we've already booked most of those dates and everything, then we'll need to come back. I'm at 70 years old now, so to some degree I'll have to also watch health and try to keep as much energy as I can to go on serving. All right, my Dandavat Pranam devotees also very much become absorbed over these next days. Tomorrow is Nrsimha Chaturdasi. I believe, I haven't looked at the calendar, I'm not sure. I believe pretty much everywhere in America here. Obviously in India they're going to be different. But please become some absorbed deeply in Narasingha Prahalad Charit. I'll speak tomorrow at our temple here. But the Narasingha Prahalad Charit was spoken by Sri Bhaktisarana Saraswati Thakur and all of our acharyas. Even Sri Gadadhar Pandit would speak it at Tota Gopinath in the company of Mahaprabhu and all of his associates. Because there's so much deep love and affection which is imbued in that Leela. You understand? And if you want to understand the nature of the high quality of praying which is manifest in the Rasa Panchadhyaya, then you should try to catch the depth of love in Dhruva Charit, Narasingha Prahlad Charit, Ambarish Charit. You understand? Ajamiyalu Pakyan. So if you want to understand praying, catch it here. You understand? This is why our Acharya said you have to read the first 9 cantos. You understand? Don't think praying only starts in Dasamaskanda or 10th canto. Praying is from the first verse of Bhagavatam to the last verse of Bhagavatam. Janmadhyasya yata tam namnam, what is this last verse? Nama sankirtanayasya. First verse deals with Adiras, the last verse deals with Mahaprabhu's development of tasting that Adiras in the position of Radhika. So the first verse of Bhagavatam, last verse of Bhagavatam, all full of praise. And everything in between also full of praise. You just have to catch it. You understand? So do deep study of Narasingha Prahlad Charit. You'll find so much sweetness and so much prema is involved there. In so many different ways. So tomorrow I'll speak something at the temple and try to excavate some of these things for my own edification and also for Seva to Harikatha in the association of the devotees. Alright, my dear devotees, Vancha Kalpataruvescha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Radhe Radhe.